Hello everyone, it's me, TheBladeGamer, of course, and I'm joined by my friend Eric, also known as TicTwitch.
Hi.
And now we'll be running down the Ubisoft press conference. So Ubisoft started off fairly strong with the announcement of the new Rabbids plus Mario Kingdoms battle game. So at first, when I heard about Rabbids and Mario coming together, I was extremely skeptical about those series being combined. Now, Mario has had some weird games, and I completely understand that Rabbids would probably not be the weirdest combination you can see in a Mario game. But when I heard about it, I was like really kind of upset with it, to be honest. But
Really?
after seeing, yeah, I was. But after seeing the gameplay today and seeing Shigeru Miyamoto come out and how passionate the developers were about the game, I'm actually kind of excited for this game now, to be completely honest. It kind of looks like an introduction to XCOM with Mario characters and Rabbids characters, but the sense of humor seems to be there. Um, it seems to be, hitting with the right Nintendo audience, and personally, I'm super excited for it now.
It looks like a very interesting take on a tactical perspective to Mario, before people start crucifying me over that. And I think the people who love Mario are just gonna probably take quite a bit of interest in this game because it's a new sort of take on it.
Yep. Yeah, I completely think that this is a breath of fresh air as far as spin off Mario games are concerned. I think that Sonic and Mario was probably one of those games that was a swing and a miss. I definitely think that Mario Party recently has been a swing and a miss. And I think this is exactly what Mario has needed for a long time in a spin off game. And so I'm really excited to try this one out. The next big game that they showed off was Assassin's Creed. Or at least
Now,
they showed off a trailer for it, and they didn't get into the gameplay until later on.
they did show a bit of gameplay at the EA conference, and that had already given us a bit of I want to say a sour impression of the game, as there were
Yeah,
quite a few things that were pretty, what's the word I'm looking for here? Underwhelming?
yep. So Assassin's Creed has kind of been on a downward slope since Assassin's Creed 3. Most people stopped caring about the series after Black Flag was released. Um, and honestly, I feel like this one might be better than the recent Assassin's Creed games that have come out, but I don't think by any stretch it's going to top what was the Ezio trilogy. Um, it's very clear that they're taking influence from other major games, such as Far Cry and
Witcher 3.
The Witcher, and big open world RPGs like that, because now you have an inventory system. You can choose what equipment you have equipped at any time.
Your
So
equipment has levels.
your equipment has levels, your character has levels. Um, you have animal instincts that allow you to see around you using kind of, I guess, what they assume to be like magic powers from ancient Egypt. And um, it's
Yeah, big
really
thing this time around was you weren't technically from the like Assassin's Guild. You're a magi.
right. And so you're basically being introduced to what was the foundation of the Assassin's Guild. And so it seems like it could be a good Assassin's Creed game, but there's a lot of skepticism surrounding it because it's hard to trust Ubisoft based on their performance with the most recent Assassin's Creed games. Um, and I think that with this game, if they really want to succeed, they're going to have to do a lot with it. And what they've shown so far does not seem to be good enough right now. I think,
I don't see myself being persuaded to go for the series unless it brings a really innovative portion like Black Flag did with the whole pirate scenario.
right.
But I don't see this one bringing anything like that to the table.
It honestly feels like this is Ubisoft's attempt at tackling, like, by shifting Assassin's Creed to being an open world RPG rather than the stealth action game that we're used to seeing. So it's a curious take on the Assassin's Creed series, but overall, I think we're both skeptical, and most people seem to be that way as well. Then they kind of went into the crew motorsports. So it seems like it could be fun. It's like, I guess, a racing game involving multiple vehicles or vehicle types. So in one race you might be racing planes, and another you might be racing boats or cars. Like it's interesting, but I definitely feel like there are better racing games out there, and vehicle games in general. So I think that they didn't really gain a lot by showing this off.
Racing games already don't have much of a presence in the games I play, and I'll be honest, the Crew 2 didn't really showcase anything that caught my eye or made me want to even try it.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Then they showed off South Park. They showed off a new South Park game. Um, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not really a big South Park fan. So I really am indifferent to this game, but I do know that the Stick of Truth was a very good representation of what a South Park video game should be. So I'm sure for longtime fans it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, they really just showed some more footage for it. I assume South Park fans are happy with it. The game comes out soonish,
Yeah.
and I imagine it was just only to continue the hype train. Besides that, nothing new was really introduced.
Yep. Then we have totally not Black Flag. I mean Skull and Bones. It. I mean, what else can I say about it other than what I just said? It seems to be like they're finally making a Black Flag style ship game, pirate ship game, and making their own series out of it. Now, I haven't played Assassin's Creed 4, but I have played Assassin's Creed 3, where the ship sailing mechanics were introduced, and I gotta say I'm not a big fan of it. So I don't anticipate liking Black Flag. I thought that the combat was fun, but overall I didn't find it enjoyable to do the side missions that involved sailing.
I'm
Um,
not too sure what this game is trying to do, because it
yeah,
looks like it might just be arena style PvP, but at the same time there might be other aspects they haven't introduced. If
right.
there are other aspects that they're going to bring to it, I think this game could have a lot of potential. If it's just the arena style PvP, I imagine it won't last too long.
Yeah, I would imagine that if they're going for the multiplayer attempt, it would be more along the lines of what happened to For Honor, um, where it's a cool concept that didn't really come to fruition and didn't perform well once it was released. So I do not have high hopes for this game whatsoever. Um, it could be good if you really liked the Assassin's Creed 4 mechanics, but to be honest, that's just not my type of game. Then they want,
The South Park phone game.
yeah, the South Park phone game. I actually didn't see that trailer, but it's more South Park, so could be good.
It was pretty meh looking. I'm not even too sure what style of the game it was trying to take. So we'll find that out when it comes out, or if there's more info released. But really, it's just another side thing for South Park fans.
Then they announced a new Just Dance game in true Ubisoft fashion. That series has been at every E3 for I think like the past 5 or 6 years. And I don't think that they're going to be giving up on Just Dance anytime soon. I was expecting it to be there, but I just don't want to see it there.
It's probably the best showcase they've ever had for it, though. They got some couple of people that were really good at dancing get on the stage, and when they announced the game, they stopped and got off the stage.
Yep. Well, at least they didn't spend too long on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock on Just Dance. Like, a lot of games like that can be fun, but
hmm
it's just like, why bother showing it at E3? At least during a press conference. Why not just kind of shove out a trailer and leave it at that?
Mm.
The next game they announced was Starlink, which is essentially another Skylanders, another take on Amiibo, where you are essentially building spacecraft by using real world items. So you can imagine having a spaceship that has like removable jets or removable guns, and you put on a new gun and it changes the one you're using in game. Um, and I think that having games interact in the real world is a fun concept, but in reality, they are very, very expensive. Um,
This one
because
personally hurt to watch.
yeah,
I was so sold on the trailer when I saw the first part of it, and the second they went to the controller and I saw the spaceship on it, it hurt so much just because I knew I would not be spending the kind of money that would be needed to play this game.
yeah, it was it. I mean, it's like having a Warhammer video game, except you have to buy each of the pieces individually. Like, it
Oh
just,
God.
it's,
Settle
I
down
mean,
there, Sam.
it's a cool concept, but it's so expensive. I would rather just have the game where I can buy a DLC pack and get all the pieces or whatever. I don't want to have to go out of my way to find these pieces in the real world. And that's a large problem with these games in general because you have Skylander figures or Amiibo figures that are too rare to find in stores or a local store doesn't stock the right part. And it's like, if Ubisoft is going to go down this route, they need to have a fairly good pricing system. It can't be something ridiculous like $5 for a gun. I mean,
Oh God.
if they do something like that, I could honestly see this game flopping big time. It is just not. I think that this is a bad time for Ubisoft to come out with something like that, especially considering that Amiibo are finally starting to die down due to the fact that Smash Bros. Is not a new game anymore. And Skylanders, I mean, we haven't seen a Skylanders game in, I think, 2 years now. So the
It's
whole
been discontinued, hasn't it?
it might have even been discontinued. I honestly don't know.
The Disney Amiibo version was discontinued.
Right. So it's like
Skylanders is like dying, probably.
these games are going out right now. I mean, they were like Rock Band for a while, right? Like when they first got introduced, they made, you know, Activision and Harmonix millions and millions of dollars, and then they kept releasing the same thing year after year after year, and eventually no one cared anymore. And that's exactly what's happening, and I think that they're doing this at a very bad time.
Mhm.
Then they touched on Steep, the Road to the Olympics. So it's a new winter sports game, particularly involving skiing and snowboarding and racing and whatnot.
The closest we'll get to Skate 4.
Yeah, it's the closest we'll get to Skate 4, unfortunately. Um, I mean, I'm not big on winter sports.
Neither am I.
So for me, this just didn't do it
looked,
for me
it
again.
looked pretty.
I mean, yeah, it looked pretty. The physics looked like it was kind of realistic. So I guess if you're a big winter sports athlete, it'll be a great game. But extreme sports has kind of been on a decline in the video game world for a while now. So I don't, I'm not trying to criticize the game. It'll probably be all right. But I think this is a game that is probably coming at a bad time. I will admit, though, the next set of Winter Olympics will be coming out in January of 2018, so it's not really bad timing in the sense that
It'll probably do well.
it'll do well because of the Winter Olympics, but I think that's about it.
Yeah.
One of their big games that they announced or showed more gameplay on was actually Far Cry 5. They showed off the original trailer for Far Cry 5 like 2 weeks ago. And honestly, I think they should have saved it for this year's E3. Far Cry 3 was a great game. Not much of a story to comment on, but it was a great game. Fallout 4, Far Cry 4, kind of fell below expectations. Primal, I think, was kind of in the same boat as 4. But Far Cry...
I honestly didn't hear much about Primal, to be honest.
I didn't either. But I hear that it may not have been the greatest of games. But Far Cry 5 seems like it could be really interesting. I love Far Cry 3, as I mentioned, so I actually really want to try it. But knowing how most of Ubisoft's big games have been a hit or a miss lately, it's just really hard for me to get behind them and say, yeah, I'm going to buy this.
Did Far Cry 3 have any co-op sort of elements?
They did. They added some like They added like a separate co-op story later on.
Because this game seems very co-op oriented because they have all the different characters that seem to be player oriented.
Yeah, and I did it again. Far Cry 4 also had a big emphasis on co-op. So I do think that them emphasizing co-op is a good direction to take the series in.
I definitely think the setting is refreshing, although not a lot of people seem to be a fan of it.
I just think that the cult in America take has been used in too many games. I mean, they used it in BioShock Infinite. They used it in the original BioShock. They used like the whole idea that, following some American cult is, it's just a setting that's been done a lot, and I think that it may not be the right setting, but at least it's a setting that will be interesting enough to keep going.
Definitely.
And then the last and probably biggest announcement that they had at their press conference was Beyond Good and Evil 2.
This one came out of nowhere.
Absolutely. I mean, the trailer started off with like a Planet of the Apes style character, monkey, like talking to someone, and they were like driving a bargain, and then they like panned around, and the guy he was talking to was actually a pig, and he had like some human woman standing next to him, kind of being like his eye candy, and it was just a really weird trailer to start off with, and it's actually like it seems like a really cool concept, a really fun concept, and I am really really excited to try this game because
Did you ever play one?
no, that is what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
I never played the first game, but there were several YouTubers that I followed a couple years ago that were like really wanting Beyond Good and Evil 2, and for like half a decade, I've seen nothing but people saying I want Beyond Good and Evil 2. And if I'm not mistaken, Beyond Good and Evil, the first one actually got like a remaster for the 360 or the Xbox One. I can't honestly remember. I want to say that they did get remastered. Um, and so I think this has been a game that longtime fans of Beyond Good and Evil have been looking forward to, and I'm actually really excited to see where it goes because the concept of the game is actually really, really interesting.
The first one was considered. A lot of people do consider it a masterpiece
Yep.
in gaming history, and
Yep.
it's over 15 years old. So, I didn't go into this event expecting Beyond Good and Evil 2. I never
Yeah.
played the original, so I didn't even know there was an opening for a second one. And it was so interesting just seeing the developers get up on stage, and they almost started tearing up. They
Yeah.
were incredibly happy that they got the chance to make a sequel to this game that apparently everyone loved.
Yeah, so I'm actually genuinely excited for that game. It's probably not going to be coming out until late next year, if I had to guess. But I'm super excited, and I honestly can't wait to see how that game develops out. So, with that in mind, what would you give Ubisoft's press conference, Eric?
I'd say around a B. It was pretty average. There were some surprises, some big things. Nothing overly cringy besides the one Just Dance scenario, but Miyamoto is loved, so who cares?
Yep. For me, I think that I am going to give this press conference a B. I think that the Mario and Rabbids game looks like it'll be great. It's very clear that the developers had passion behind the game. Beyond Good and Evil looks great. Although I don't like the setting of Far Cry 5, it looks like it could be it could bring back the series to its roots. And Assassin's Creed, although I'm skeptical of the open world mechanics that they're trying to introduce to the series, there is potential to be a good Assassin's Creed game if they've learned from their past mistakes. So overall, Ubisoft presented titles with a bunch of potential, but it is going to be they're going to have to really perform well in order to gain back the trust that longtime fans have had.
We'll see if they deliver on that. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we'll see you for the next press conference.
Bye.